All right, we're back. So, Harney County Judge Steve Grasty, we saw him a couple days back in the town hall meeting that they had in the local school gymnasium. Uh, this is the one where he's wearing the bright yellow shirt, prancing around like a peacock, strutting around, sticking his chest out, wagging his finger, saying mighty and tough things to Ammon Bundy, who showed up at the meeting along with some of his supporters from the refuge. Grasty was outraged that Ammon showed up, and so he was trying to strut, be uh, be a tough guy, telling Ammon, "You got to go home. Let us get back to our lives. I'll personally take you in my truck and drive you back to Utah." Which is funny because Ammon's not from Utah, but so he was also upset, though, that these meetings continue to reveal a whole lot of local support for what Ammon is doing out at the refuge. You watch these things that the media reports, you always hear this cherry picked information about how the locals don't want them there. They don't want Ammon there, and they keep telling him to go home. Well, sure, some of them say that. But in the same meeting, you've got just as many people cheering and clapping for what Ammon is doing on behalf of the Hammonds and to try and bring back property rights to those who have been abused by the BLM. Grasty doesn't like that. He wants to have these meetings demonstrate that everybody thinks the way he does. So here's what he's done. Yesterday, he issued a press release in which he dictates a number of newly imposed restrictions on who can attend the meetings going forward in the future. What he's doing is gerrymandering the audience to suit his own personal taste, his own personal agenda. And he's making it hard for people who support Ammon Bundy to be able to attend the meetings. He reminds me of he reminds me of Boss Hogg from Dukes of Hazzard. You know, he's so full of himself. You've got this small town, and he's just made himself out to be the little emperor, and really feels like he has some kind of authority to be doing these things, telling the people how they should live their lives. So one of the restrictions that he's put out there is that from now on, only 150 tickets are going to be issued to the meeting. Supposed to be a public meeting, but now you have to have a ticket to attend. So how are these tickets issued? You have to go to his courthouse to get one. You have to bring a photo ID. You have to provide proof of residency. So you got to show your papers to be able to attend a local town hall meeting. No papers? Can't attend. So what this does, of course, is it eliminates the possibility of Ammon or anyone else from outside of the local area from participating. It also ends up putting restrictions on media. So the thing is, though, out of these 150 tickets, Judge Grasty has kept a reserve of 30 of these tickets for himself to be able to issue to special guests of his choosing. You see, you can come from outside of the area. That's not the problem. The problem is you need to be someone who he wants to have there. Very, very, very dirty thing that he's doing. Something tells me that none of those guests that he invites are going to be Ammon Bundy supporters. You see what he's doing. Grasty is stacking the public meetings with a bunch of pro-BLM supporters. He's snuffing out the voices of dissent from the local community and from others that may be coming in to listen to what's going on. Not just that, but he has also imposed a firearm ban for the civilians who attend. Why would he do that? Is he afraid that someone's going to come in there and just start shooting? No. No. He's got plenty of sheriff's deputies, heavily armed sheriff's deputies all over the place already. They're ready should there be any problem. So what is he doing? What he's doing is he's trying to weed out audience members who are pro-Second Amendment supporters. Why? Because people who care about the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and who exercise that right are almost all supporters of what Ammon is doing. So you can help reduce the number of people by limiting, putting restrictions on Second Amendment supporters. It's really a hypocritical position to take because it's not like Judge Grasty is opposed to guns. Geez, have you seen the photos of the Burns courthouse there in Harney County? Have you seen these photos? You cannot go to the courthouse without passing through a Nazi-esque checkpoint. You don't have to show your papers yet to go to the courthouse, but you can't go to the courthouse without walking past sheriff's deputies who are in full tactical gear with long rifles. It's very intimidating. Very intimidating. You know, it's not the people that are out at the refuge. The guys out there are out there cleaning the refuge up. They're not walking around in town trying to intimidate the locals like Grasty is doing and the FBI goons that Sheriff Ward has invited into the area. It's just outrageous. It's Grasty and the FBI, not the men at the refuge, who are inflaming the community and putting them into a perpetual state of fear. They've turned the town into a militarized zone. The FBI just brought in another, on top of what they've already got, they've brought in another 200 vehicles into the area. You don't think that's going to cause alarm? So, in addition to that restriction, Judge Grasty has decided that instead of having a typical open town hall meeting the way they've done in the past, where members of the public are allowed to ask questions, no, now what he's doing is he has placed this next meeting under the moderation of PBS, the Public Broadcasting System. Now, I like Sesame Street as much as the next guy, but we all know that PBS is a staunchly left-wing, government-controlled station. The PBS moderator, he's going to be the one asking the questions, not the audience members. The audience members are no longer asking the questions. The PBS moderator is going to take his own pre-scripted questions, direct them to the audience, and then the audience gets to talk about how they feel with regard to these questions, answer his questions. It's a scripted show. The entire charade, of course, is going to be recorded by PBS, broadcast on the government-run station. It's an incredible assault on the people's freedom of speech. It's nothing less than the effort of a radical left-wing politician to stack an audience full of pro-government supporters. Remember, this isn't a hard thing to do, to stack the audience anyway. 63% of the local population are employed by the federal government. Many of them with the BLM. Remember that the wildlife refuge that's out there has absorbed over 100 privately owned ranches of the local residents. Now, some of these people, they have had to relocate, go somewhere else where they can make money. But many of them have turned to government jobs to be able to take care of themselves. So you've got a lot of people in the area, a lot of people who work for the government. So it really puts them in a bad situation to say, we want to kick the government out of the area. That's going to create some potential job losses. So of course some people are going to be resistant to that. But what Grasty is doing is he's just pushing a leftist big government agenda. The whole thing is just a propaganda show. And in this press release that Grasty put out, he quoted himself. He's very full of himself. He quoted himself as saying this, quote, "I can't think of a better way to give Oregon a taste of the real Harney County." Speaking of these various dictates and restrictions that he's put in place. Well, Judge Grasty, I can think of a better way of showing Oregon what the real Harney County is like, and that's letting the real people of Harney County come in unrestricted without all of your tickets, with all of your scripted questions. Don't cherry pick your audience. And why don't you, considering you're supposed to be a judge, supposed to be well versed in the law, how about this? You're in violation of Oregon's open public meetings law. You're breaking several tenets of that law. So maybe if you want Harney County to be accurately represented to the rest of Oregon, to the rest of the country, maybe you need to start obeying the law yourself, Judge Grasty. Now, for those of you listening who may feel some outrage at what Judge Grasty is doing, you're welcome to give him some feedback. He, on the press release, publicly available, he's provided his own phone number, which is 541-573-3071. 541-573-3071. You're welcome to express your outrage at what he's doing. But as always, be courteous. Anytime you do call any government official, to whether it's federal or local, be courteous. State your position and be done with it. Don't harass. Now, what I'm going to do is put a link to the full press release down in the show notes so that people can see that and read it for themselves. And but I've got to tell you, folks, this is a dangerous precedent that is being set. This is an outright assault on the First Amendment, the right to free speech, the right to assemble together. It's an assault on the Second Amendment, the right of people to bear arms, telling gun owners you can't come here. Everyone else that Judge Grasty chooses to have weapons, they can come in fully armed, but not the public. Not a good thing, folks. Judge Grasty, I certainly hope that there is on the ground there locally an effort to unseat this man in the next election. I don't know when that next election is going to be that Judge Grasty will be in, but all he's doing is politicking. When you watch these videos, the way he struts around, the way that he talks about himself far more than he talks about the issue at hand. I'm available for you. I care about you. He's a politician. And a dirty one at that. Tied to the BLM. Get rid of him, Harney County. Vote that man out of office. I hope you're doing some looking around for a decent candidate to run against him. Because that man has to go.
I spoke to him, and he said that he saw the camps and the coffins with his own eyes.
We go live to End Times news correspondent.
Now, you guys know I'm not going to let them get away with that.
Dude, I saw this thing up in the sky, and I don't know what it was. It was just hovering there, and then it was gone.
Yeah, I traded words with Senator McCain. He didn't seem to like being called out on his escapades at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. Comet Ison isn't just a comet. It's a harbinger, a herald of things that are coming.
Witnesses described the sound coming out of the sky.
Building was shaking, the fluorescent lights were falling on the people.
What is it going to take for Americans to wake up and realize that their government is preparing for martial law?